Vanishing Completely is a 2022 horror thriller. The film centers on a crime photographer who, after photographing a body in a mysterious building, begins to lose his sensory abilities. Plot: Santiago is a crime photographer living in Mexico City. He works for a tabloid and often bribes police officers to allow him to enter crime scenes and take photos of corpses. He is in a relationship with Marcela, who reveals that she is pregnant. Santiago is reluctant to accept the news and tries to convince her not to keep the baby, as they are not ready and their relationship is unstable. In the first scene of the film, we see Santiago attending an accident scene where a woman has sadly lost her life. At first, Santiago is not allowed to take photos, but later he bribes an officer and takes photos of the body. Later, we see him in his studio developing photos and writing, while simultaneously seeing scenes from another side of someone unknown preparing something that appears to be witchcraft. Guts, dirt, among other things, to make a paste and stuff it into a toad's stomach, boiling it and preparing it for something evil. It's clear that Santiago's dream is to open a gallery and exhibit his photos to the public. His editor constantly blackmails him with the idea that if he gives him good photos of dead people, he'll help him achieve his dream. One night, he ditched his wife at a dinner date to attend a work errand. He received a radio call and cancelled the appointment. His wife, of course, got angry and confessed she was pregnant. They argued, because she'd always wanted children, but Santiago didn't. The argument ended inconclusively, and Santiago headed to the venue. The event was the apparent murder of Senator Raul Cortez, who apparently died after being eaten by rats for days without trying to defend himself. When the officer who gave him the notice arrived, he complained to him for being late. It was clear that everything was done illegally. The officer told him the experts were already there and it was obvious he had to arrive before everyone else to be released. Santiago still sneaks into the house illegally through a window. Inside, he finds the commander, who claims he can't take photos because he's not just anyone. But Santiago bribes him. The commander tells him the senator went crazy and fired all the employees beforehand, so no one knows what really happened. While taking photos, the senator wakes up, revealing himself to be alive and demanding to be killed. The commander tells Santiago that the Secretary of Security is on his way and asks him to leave immediately. He also tells him that even though he saw them at his house, he doesn't remember anything. Santiago insists on knowing what happened, but the commander flatly tells him he doesn't know anything and that he should leave. As he walks back to his car, which is parked in an alley, the lights flicker and he feels strange vibrations. He suddenly turns around only to be hit and lose consciousness. When he wakes up, he discovers his wallet and camera have been stolen, but not the SD card. When he gets home before going to sleep, he tells his wife that it's best not to have the child. He lies down and falls asleep, and his wife sadly opens her eyes. Santiago dreams he's taking photos, but when he looks at the person's face, he realizes he's taking photos of himself. Later, he sees his wife saying goodbye to him, but without hearing anything, before they seal the body bag. After that, he wakes up in an operating room full of doctors. He writhes and stares at himself, his eyes and mouth sewn shut with red thread. The next day, he is called to see the body of a pregnant woman. The body is already decomposing, so much so that the officer vomits. While taking photos of the pregnant woman's corpse, he is attacked by the woman, who pushes her tongue into his mouth. He convulses and foams at the mouth. Santiago discovers he can't smell and tells the paramedic examining him so. A day later, Santiago visits Marcela at her job as a nurse. While they're eating, Santiago reveals to Marcela that he's lost his sense of taste. Medical tests indicate that Santiago is in perfect condition. In my personal opinion, it's magical and comforting to visit your partner at work. It's gratifying. If you haven't done it, do it one day. Santiago has lunch with his wife and they discuss the pregnancy. In the end, the visit didn't go well. But it still has to be done. Santiago arrives home and sees his dog sniffing under the kitchen cabinets. When he touches it, it bites him. After this, he researched his possible illnesses on the internet and also the senator. He then went to visit the senator in the hospital, but he was inert. At night, he had another dream. He saw himself in bed, paralyzed from the waist down. When he uncovered himself, he saw his feet being bitten by many rats. He then woke up and tried to wake his wife, but when he uncovered her, he saw her bleeding from the waist down and woke up again. Santiago goes to see the commander and the officer after finding a toad under the kitchen cabinets, where the dog was sniffing. Santiago shows the toad to the police officers, and they get angry because they were eating. They say they're doing witchcraft on him, but Santiago doesn't believe this. He also asks why and who it is. The officer tells him something that seems obvious to her, for taking photos of deceased people without permission. The commander tells her that as a favor he will give her the contact information for his personal witch, but Santiago is reluctant. The officer asks if any strange things have happened to him, and upon reflection, Santiago makes up his mind. Realizing the situation, Santiago goes to a witch, who reveals that he was cursed in retaliation for something he had done. Initially skeptical, Santiago discovers he has lost his sense of touch. Here, before the witch, Santiago cuts open the toad with scissors. Inside, there is a note addressed to him, telling him that his life would be plunged into darkness. The witch tells him that everything is very serious and she can't help him, but she knows someone, but it would be very expensive, 100,000 pesos. She also tells him he would have to make a sacrifice. She also demonstrates the seriousness of the situation by burning his chest with a cigar. Santiago didn't feel a thing. As if that weren't enough, they were running out of time, they had 2 days left. That same night, Santiago sacrifices his dog in a witchcraft ritual, trying to break the curse. The ritual seems successful, but the witch tells him that his lost senses will never return. He returns home and makes love to Marcela. But everything is strange. Marcela speaks to him during the climax, but Santiago doesn't respond. Finally, she asks him where he went, and he replies that he was with her the whole time. The next morning, Santiago discovers that the ritual didn't work, and his hearing has deteriorated throughout the day. He suffers from a tremendous earache caused by a grinding noise. Marcela helps him and removes an insect from his ear. He goes to the witch again, but finds himself in a funeral procession. The witch who had helped him has died. In his investigation to save himself, he discovers that the senator he took the photos of was cursed with witchcraft by a rival senator, losing all his senses for 5 days. And he, upon collecting evidence, was also cursed in retaliation. Santiago found a lot of information about the senator that linked her to witchcraft and its use to seize power. On this particular topic, I can express what someone once told me: politics is the dirtiest thing in the world. Any politician who claims to be clean is lying. No matter how honest they claim to be, or how honest you think they are tainted. Regarding witchcraft, if they do it, it doesn't matter whether they believe in it or not. It's not about that, it's about doing whatever it takes to gain power. Santiago heads to a house in the woods where he discovers a photo of himself next to his stolen camera, black magic objects, and more photos of cursed people. In the woods, a creature dances next to a bonfire. The creature discovers him and knocks him unconscious. Upon awakening, Santiago discovers he can no longer hear. The creature offers to restore his senses in exchange for the life of his unborn child. Although he initially refuses, Santiago agrees and returns to Marcela to induce an abortion. As his vision deteriorates, Santiago prepares a cup of tea with a liquid to induce an abortion for Marcela. Marcela returns to the house and comforts Santiago as he cries, nearly losing his senses. Marcela takes the cup of tea Santiago prepared for her, but at the last moment, he smashes it, preventing Marcela from drinking it. The screen fades to black as Santiago loses his sight, completely disappearing. Comments. This film was released in February 2024 in Mexico. It ran for a month in theaters, so it's safe to say it was well received by the public. It then moved to the N Company's theaters. The subject matter is very good, the idea of combining witchcraft with politics is very apartment. It's also something that is known to be very true in this area, although it's an open secret. Aside from being a reckless, skeptical character, he's not immune to falling into the hands of evil. Without asking for it or seeking it, he made enemies. You could also call it karma. He always carried out his work by practicing corruption, without the slightest respect for his work, his wife, and much less for the victims. An interesting and well-developed theme. This time, they didn't waste time developing a personal relationship, since, as you can see, it's not relevant. In one or two scenes, we get a glimpse of Santiago's profile and the state of his marriage. He was the typical reckless adventurer who went out at night in search of adventure and life, while his wife only wanted to be a woman, which included being a mother. These are my comments. They don't necessarily explain the reasons for the events, but I'd like to hear your opinion on them. That's all from me, goodbye.